If you fill your life with trashy reality TV and MCU and things like that, eventually your brain rots into nothingness and you become one of these people who believes the world's flat.
Let's begin, shall we? Welcome back to the Jamie. Your film taste is to be confirmed.
No, we confirmed it. What was it we called it last? Yeah, we stuck with Jamie. Your film taste is wrong, didn't we?
No, we landed on the fence with it, and then I opened the last episode with to be confirmed, and I think it's still to be confirmed.
I've been trying to collect votes as to what general public think is better, and the most common response I'm getting is, "What difference does it make?" So
there we go.
Possible we're overthinking this problem.
I think you're the one who was overthinking it, Jamie. You're the one who suggested it.
Well, you know. I will cease overthinking and I will overdrink instead. It'll be fine.
That's my boy.
I'm joined today by Jamie, who's currently overdrinking, not overthinking.
Woohoo!
I'm joined by Dave as well.
Good evening.
And Ben.
Hello.
And today we are discussing, this is not one of those, what's that show called? Is it called Death Battles or something, where they pit two pop culture things together? Jamie, do you know what I mean?
What that Screw Attack used to make?
Yeah. What was it called?
That's called Death Battle, yeah.
Yeah, so we're not doing Death Battles, but we are doing E.T. versus The Thing, not actually pitting The Thing versus E.T. as I think.
In a fight.
That would be
yes, because The Thing would
God.
annihilate E.T. and then he'd be brought back with the power of love or some bullshit. But
no, in true Batman v Superman fashion, they would both realize that their mothers were named Blizzard and they would make sense.
Oh, that's a good point. But we are actually putting together which one is cult versus broad, which one has had a more lasting impact on the industry, which one do we think has had more staying power, which one do we think will stay around for longer, and which one do we think is better, really, which obviously is completely subjective, but hey, who gives a shit? We will go to our usual opening question. First and foremost, Jamie, what have you been watching this last week?
Right, so I've actually watched a lot of things this week. I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's no need to. It's just a couple I want to touch on. So I'm going to speed through first the ones I don't want to talk about. So I watched The Skeleton Key. All I'll say about that is it's the most egregious waste of Sir John Hurt I've ever seen in my life. He has about 3 lines of dialogue in the whole film, playing a stroke victim. Also, it is basically the plot of Get Out in reverse. So sorry, Jordan Peele, you're not actually that original. I watched Begin Again, which I do recommend. It's on Netflix, starring Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. It's kind of a rom-com that's not a rom-com. It's romantic without being about a romance.
Jamie, have you seen the film Sing Street? I've got a feeling it's the same director-writer as Begin Again.
No, I want to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It is absolutely lovely. I thought it was such a good film. I haven't seen Begin Again, though, but Sing Street I thought was just very, very nice.
Okay, I'll look it up. But yeah, Mark Ruffalo is fantastic in it. It's worth watching just for his performance. He's very tortured, very genius. It's very good. I also watched Slaughterhouse Rules, which in our usual blowjob of Edgar Wright is like someone attempted to make an Edgar Wright film without Edgar Wright. They got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but you need all 3 of them for it to work. And I will just say that the blonde prefect in that film, that's how Boris Johnson behaved at school when he was at his private school. You know it. Anywho. Now, the 2 I actually want to talk about. I watched a film that has been on my watch list for 10 years. I finally watched American Beauty. Now, for the audience at home, yes, I know Kevin Spacey's a terrible man and we don't mention him, but you know what? A lot of other good people worked on that film. So, let's not tar them with the same brush. Now, I am going to just give Kevin Spacey a quick compliment here. His performance in the film is phenomenal. You know everything you need to know about that character from his first scene, just from looking at his body language, at the way his shoulders are always slumped, the way his head's always slightly bowed. And I do love the physicality of him as the film goes on and he kind of comes into his own. It was interesting because it was not about what I thought it was about. I thought it was about an older man having an affair with a younger woman, but that's actually just the very surface of it. It's actually a very artsy film, all about materialism, the terrors of middle age, and it's simultaneously a uplifting film and a very depressing film. So I do recommend it. It's on Netflix, won a load of awards the year it came out. Now, proving that I'm everything wrong with the film watching audience today, there was one film I watched that I enjoyed even more than American Beauty. And that was a 2009 independent ditty that is a modern take on classic exploitation films called Bitch Slap.
No.
Now, this movie...
I think Ben just choked on his vape there.
This movie is super low budget. So I, as I've said before, I always have more respect for the low budget films anyway, just because, I mean, we've all worked on low budget films. We know how ridiculously hard they are to make. Ben is dying.
I know you can't see it, but Ben is fully choking on whatever he was eating or vaping.
So the film, it is like a proper classic exploitation film. It's, like Russ Meyer, like stuff like Grindhouse that Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino did, about three very attractive women who are attempting to rob their criminal boss of $20 million worth of diamonds that he's buried in the desert. But of course, lots of people want to get their hands on these diamonds. It's the director... whose name I actually forget at the moment. He's mostly done television. He touts it as a feminist piece. Now, on the one hand, I see what he means because all the women in it do kick absolute ass like they do. They are very powerful women. However, they are also all introduced into the film by close-ups of their breasts. Yeah, and about halfway through the film, the whole plot stops so they can have a 10-minute water fight, which all their shirts go see-through. There is a very hot lesbian sex scene, I'm not going to lie. Put it this way, it's free to watch on YouTube, so you might as well go and check it out. But yeah, it doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. It is just trashy, cheesy, sexy, gory. And I had a lot of fun. I've actually struggled with it a lot in the week since because I feel like I shouldn't like it. I feel like I did something bad by watching it. But no, I'm here to say we're here. I don't know how to finish that. The normal thing is we're here, we're queer. But that's
we're
the opposite.
Here, we're lecherous. We don't want any more bears.
I also finished my Canadian sitcom.
And?
I mean, it ends on quite a unclimactic thing because it got cancelled and they didn't know it was going to be the last episode, so it kind of just ends. But I mean, it's Canadians doing comedy. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's all very inoffensive and polite, and I just love the way they say sorry.
You say that about Canadians, but most mainstream American sitcoms are equally. In fact, most mainstream comedies are inoffensive. It's their.
You go and ask some snowflakes, my friend, if things like Friends are inoffensive, and see what happens to you.
But there's stuff that hasn't aged well, but their intention wasn't to ruffle feathers.
I know. It was so much funnier when you could insult people all the time.
You still can.
You still can. You just get a bigger response.
Yeah, which some comedians want.
Mm.
But obviously they weren't setting out to make a statement or to ruffle feathers. It just didn't age well. Whereas most broad comedies, that's exactly what they set out to do. Is to have the broadest market possible.
But the takeaway is, I highly recommend both American Beauty and Bitch Slap for completely different reasons.
I would like to point out that absolutely floored me. I did not expect that to be the name of the film,
No.
and I almost choked.
Bitch Slap, as of my last checking a couple of days ago, is free on YouTube if you search Bitch Slap film. And
what a search, those three words.
And American Beauty is currently on it's on the UK Netflix. I don't know if it's on anywhere else in the world, but it is on Netflix here in the UK. Highly recommend both for very different reasons.
Okay.
Love that film.
Dave, what have you been watching?
I'm similar-ish to Jamie. I've had quite a sordid week, to be honest with you. So it started out quite well. I watched, in terms of not being sordid, I watched Mank last week. It's the first thing I watched, the new David Fincher. Then I watched a documentary called Hookers, Hustlers, Peeps and Their Johns. I did a cheeky stream of the new Kerry Mulligan one, Promising Young Woman. And this is where it starts to go downhill. I watched a documentary about the film Showgirls called You Don't Know Me. I watched Come and See, which was a harrowing war film from 1985. Bottle Rocket, the first Wes Anderson film. And then last night, because I've been reading a biography about Russ Meyer, I watched Super Vixens. So yes, watched quite a few, but I think maybe I'm just I need to probably elevate the stuff I've been watching, because it's all been quite sordid and seedy, to be honest with you.
I think I've seen Super Vixens. Is that the one where the guy ends up in the barn? He stays in the barn at the farmer's house and he ends up shagging the farmer's daughter?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so the main character in it has all these, as you'd imagine from a Russ Meyer film, these incredibly buxom women throwing themselves at him. And even though he's single, he just seems to be completely repelled by all of them, even though his wife was incredibly busty, but she's died anyway. I don't know, it makes no sense, but it's a lot of fun, I guess. And I think you could level the charge of them as being massively sexist, but I think maybe this is me just making myself feel better. I think the way that they're filmed, he makes them look, and maybe this is from the book as well, but he makes them look like they're goddesses in a way. So maybe he gets away with it. I don't know. But anyway.
He is primarily known for writing and directing a series of successful sexploitation films that feature campy humor, sly satire, and large-breasted women.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely got a type, for sure.
So it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what channel would have showed them, but I remember being a teenage boy and seeing them on the telly and thinking, wow. But there is something to them. There is more to them, I think, than just being sort of, smut.
Okay, Ben.
I've actually had quite a busy week, to be honest. I've been watching, I've been taking advantage of my Disney Plus account and watching quite a lot of old movies, like the original MCU and the new WandaVision. Been quite busy with that. Very odd. Very, very odd. But I recommend it. I highly recommend it. It's very well written.
Okay.
And I've also been watching, I also watched a film that was recommended to me by my flatmate called What We Do in the Shadows.
TV show or movie?
The movie.
Yeah, I watched that as well on Netflix. That was one of the things I was going to say. I watched it.
Absolutely floored me. I loved it. It was probably one of the funniest things I'd seen for a long. One of the the sort of belly laugh that really gets you going. It really tickled me. But I've been watching that watched that last night, and I've started watching it again today because it made me laugh. But that was I've been watching that. I've also been watching quite a lot of. But like, I say, this isn't film or TV really, so whether or not this counts. But I've been watching a lot of documentaries on Lad Bible, and one of the ones I watched the other day was there's a Twitch streamer who has Tourette's, and she talks about her growing up and how it affected her. And I also watched another one about an old army sergeant and a young army sergeant. It's sort of about 20-minute documentaries. And they do various different things. There was one with 2 sex workers on yesterday as well, which was quite interesting.
James Buckley slagging off Lad Bible. Was it a documentary about Lad Bible or a documentary on Lad Bible?
No, it was a documentary on Lad Bible.
Okay.
So wasn't Lad Bible. Lad Bible did you might see it where they put 2 people in a room together and they actually just sit opposite each other with a white background.
Can't do that much anymore, can you?
That was
it's a very long table. Be fine.
They did that sort of thing. I've been watching quite a lot of their documentaries, sort of about 20 minutes long. And I also heard, I did hear a rumor that Led Bible will shortly be going on to Netflix. Allegedly, they're going on to Netflix and also on to Amazon Prime. And they're going to do longer documentaries and longer sort of like one-offs, like spin-offs of, especially the killer documentaries. So they're very keen on that. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. But I'd highly recommend What We Do in the Shadows. What about you, Benson?
What We Do in the Shadows is the only film that I watched, which I think has cemented my thought that Taika Waititi hates tension or doesn't understand how to create tension. One or t'other. Because every film that I've seen of his, the second you can feel tension building, there is an ill-timed joke that just cuts the tension completely.
I think that's his style, though. He doesn't do
this is the thing. If you're doing a laugh a second, and if you're doing laugh a second, Taika Waititi is the best person for it because he is fucking funny. Him and Jermaine Clement.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've watched Jermaine since Flight of the Conchords. Love him. Have loved their sense of humor. And if you're going into those films like you just want to watch a laugh a second, it's perfect for it. And I found the TV show that they the same thing as well, that it's just nonstop funny. But they do kind of build up these serious stakes, but then there's no tension to them because of the way that they have done them. And it was the exact same with which is like, it's perfect when he's doing, say, what we do in the shadows, or when he's doing Jojo Rabbit. But when it comes to Thor Ragnarok, I don't think the tones mix as well.
I actually have the Thor Ragnarok was a funny film. I wouldn't call it a Thor film.
Exactly.
Personally.
That's exactly what we said. I think it was the episode you went on.
What you were saying about like the tones not mixing well, that was a lot of people's criticism of Jojo Rabbit. I only saw it the once in the cinema, and I think the tones worked really well. I think it balanced the tragedy and the humor very well.
Is it worth a watch?
I haven't seen Jojo, but I just with with Taiki's or Waititi with his backlog or catalog of stuff, what I've noticed is that that whenever I feel tension building, there will always be jokes coming, and then that pardon me, that tension the second it is gone is lost, and then the scene is just a laugh a minute. So
I saw Jojo Rabbit at the cinema with Dave. We saw it together on our first date. And, I absolutely loved it. And I actually think he does the inverse of his usual gimmick there. It's laugh a minute and you don't expect the shocking thing that's going to happen. And then it happens. It reminded me a lot of one of my all-time favorite films, which is a bit controversial.
Christmas.
Has anyone seen La Vita Bella, the Italian film about the Holocaust?
Good film.
I love that. Like, you know it's about the Holocaust, but it's so lighthearted, you're not expecting to be shown the full horror of the Holocaust, and then you are. I actually wrote an essay at uni arguing that La Vita Bella is a more effective film than Schindler's List, because Schindler's List is miserable from the get-go, and you build up a tolerance to the misery. So halfway through, you're just kind of like
jaded.
Oh, I'm kind of done now. But La Vita Bella completely sucker punches you by misdirecting you in the wrong way.
Oh, I think the emotional roller coaster, if it's done well, is the better way of going about it. One of my favorite TV shows, and you guys might hate it, I always seem to, it's quite divisive, but was Scrubs. Was one of the ones where it was laugh a minute, and then very suddenly they would just gut punch you. But the thing was that when they were doing the gut punching, they weren't making the jokes, and they were very, very, very definitive about these two. You knew that the second, and it's the exact same with BoJack Horseman. Once going to show that I cannot recommend enough, that the second things get serious, they stop. The laugh a second stops. Whereas what I found with Waititi stuff was that they don't know, he doesn't quite know when to ease off the brakes. If he wants that emotional beat where, spoiler alert, one of the main characters who everyone likes is killed, and it's supposed to be a sad moment. What we do in the shadows is killed. It's supposed to be a sad moment, but they're all making jokes about it where they're like, oh, I'm sure that's the exact way you wanted to go, mate, with his intestines torn out.
What makes it better is that they're I don't know what it is, but they're Australian. No, New Zealand. New Zealand.
Yes.
There's something about that, especially with the werewolves, where they're tying themselves to the tree.
Yes, very funny. Like, take your clothes off that you don't want to rip. But I love it. I think it's very funny. But I think if you're trying to get an emotional reaction out of people, which you don't have to at the end of the day, you don't have to make people sad if you don't want to. You can always have it laugh a minute. But it seemed to like. Yeah, I think it personally, it hits one emotional beat, and I will leave that film feeling like I've laughed a lot, but maybe that you haven't hit all the, you don't have to hit all the notes in the day. I also watched a TV show called The Bodyguard.
The TV show?
The TV show, The Bodyguard.
Is that the one with Richard, the fella from Game of Thrones on it?
Possibly.
Richard Maddens.
And Keeley Halls.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. It was probably good. There was two things that really soured it to me. Three. One, a death fake out, which I despise. If you are killing off a character, you're bringing the audience to an emotional point. The second you take that away, you tell the audience that this character is indispensable, or if they aren't, then people don't give a shit anymore because they've already hit that emotional peak. They don't care, and it's cheap. It's just so cheap to get that gasp. But they do this thing where, it's not even like a falling off the side of a cliff, and then it's like, oh, did they live? There's a branch, or Lord of the Rings, where it's always cushiony. Everyone survives a cliff fall in the Lord of the Rings.
Sorry to interrupt, but the worst example of that, I think, was when I went to see The Rise of Skywalker, and there was literally like
oh my god.
But they wouldn't even like give you like, I don't know, 30 minutes of being sad about it. They'd be like, he's dead. Not really though. It's okay.
It was the exact example I was going to use. Chewbacca's dead. No, don't worry.
I can take it if somebody like dies in a film. It's like, okay, if that character dies, it's fine. Just,
like, we'll live. It's like Chewbacca's dead.
It'll be better if he is dead.
Yeah,
then it's like, oh,
is he?
What? No, he's not. No, they undid everything they did. Any emotional moment was immediately undone. And this is the thing I talk about. It's so cheap. And Walking Dead did it a lot. That's what turned me off Walking Dead. Game of Thrones didn't do it too much. But it's like, if you're going to go to the commitment of killing off a character, Sherlock as well was another one. If you're going through the commitment of killing,
that's different though. Sherlock was different because that was in the books. He was brought back because he was Arthur Conan Doyle was requested to bring him back after.
Yeah, it's still not a good thing to do. He should just let it die.
I mean, as a TV, writer, you don't have to follow the books to the letter, do you? You're adapting.
No. But this the thing was, it was a fake, but it wasn't even a fake out with like a cliff where it was ambiguous. He literally puts a gun to his head and blows his brains out, and they managed to bullshit their way around that. And that's the second you lose my respect as a viewer.
Oh, was that in Bodyguard?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember watching it when it came out. I haven't watched it for a long time, but I remember being very disappointed. Because there was so much hype about it, especially with Keeley Halls, obviously Ashes to Ashes, which had made with Game of Thrones. And it was so disappointing. Because a little trivia for you, the build, where she's in the car and she's been shot at. Spoilers, that building he goes into.
Is that your building?
It was my old building that I used to work in, and I was there the day they were filming that scene.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
but it was a like good series, but that death thing really bugged me. But there was this twist they did at the end, and I won't spoil it. Dave and Jamie, do you intend to watch it?
No, but maybe the listeners might do. So
it was a twist which is one of those twists that came out of nowhere, wasn't seeded, and retroactively made scenes worse, which I think is the worst kind of twist. Like the one in Fight Club, it makes the viewing different, but it does make the viewing worse. The twist is so well thought out and so well planned that it enhances the viewing experience the second time around because you see all the clever work they've done. That's a good twist. Bad twist is one that comes out of nowhere, and I think retroactively makes scenes that were powerful before worse because you're sitting there thinking, but that isn't true. But it really does come out of nowhere, where this character
who did go through a bit of a phase though a couple of years ago when they did Bodyguard. That was a phase where mini-series were very popular, especially with the BBC. Because what was the other one that was quite popular? Oh, Collateral with John Sim and Carey Mulligan. That was a well thought out script, but it just didn't go anywhere. It just after about 6 episodes, because it was only one series. After 6 episodes, it was like everything you built up to about. Spoilers about like the government being involved in ferrying terrorists, stuff like that, didn't go anywhere. Just literally just dropped off the face of the earth.
This is what happened in The Bodyguard.
Episode 5.
There wasn't enough time, and they just suddenly they had an extra half hour for the last episode. And they just cram everything in, and then suddenly there's this twist that is just nonsensical at the end.
A bit like when they did a series 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones.
Pretty much, exactly that. Is you just got to go. Oh shit, we don't know what we're doing anymore. Just cram, and anything that doesn't make sense, fuck it. We'll just do it. We'll do a twist that doesn't work, but screw it. It's very I think these kind of twists are becoming more popular in the modern age. And this is something definitely that I want to do a next topic of the podcast, of sort of nonsensical twists, because there's the increase of internet and how they are influencing films, where like creators and writers are coming out as saying, oh yeah, if someone guessed the twist, I'll change it. And that's terrible, because obviously if the writer's been making everything build up to this twist, and then someone guesses it and they go, well, we got to change it to something else. Suddenly the Chekhov's gun doesn't work anymore, because you've shown the gun on the mantelpiece, but suddenly it's the gun beneath the sofa that goes off. And it doesn't work from a structural point.
It's cheap. It's
Ryan Johnson's Last Jedi, where they're like, oh, we're building up this, building up this thing. Surprise! It's something you really didn't see coming from miles away. Ha, you're so surprised, you're so dumb. It's like, no, it's just cheap.
Thing is, and I'm not actually going to go into this properly, because you've just said we're going to do a future episode on it. But first of all, there's a weird assumption these days that all films need twists. And there's also this habit of just relying on, there's like 4 standard Hollywood twists that all get done over and over again. You know, it was a dream all along. The hero's the villain. He was a ghost all the time. Things like that, you know, these standard twists. And you're right. You're exactly right. Like, they do sometimes, if they're not thought out properly. That, I mean, not that it was a good series anyway. It was a bad series anyway. But the twist at the end of the last Resident Evil movie literally makes the entire... I mean, the franchise is bad anyway, but the franchise is completely invalidated.
Let's go on to the main question of broad versus cult. Which one has affected the industry more, do you believe? Which one do you think is better? This is E.T. versus The Thing. So please, who would like to take the floor first?
I might be about to end this episode in 15 seconds.
Okay.
Unlikely, but yeah.
I suspected that we were all going to say that The Thing was more influential. So I decided, given that the whole gimmick of the podcast is that I'm the bad guy, I thought, okay, I'll be devil's advocate, and
Don't tell them our secret.
and I'll argue for E.T. But in doing lots and lots of research, I still can't argue it. E.T. has not had the impact. Like I thought, it turns out I'm wrong. I thought that E.T. was like one of Spielberg's first films. So I was going to argue, we wouldn't have Spielberg without E.T. And, Spielberg is the most famous and well-known director in the world. Like, if you go to anyone on the street and say, name a film director, it's always, I would say 8 times out of 10, it's Spielberg. And the other 2 times it's Martin Scorsese. Sometimes Tarantino, actually.
I think in this age, it's going to be Tarantino or Nolan.
Yeah, put it this way. Every single person, like normal person, who I've ever said I want to be a film director to, immediately calls me Spielberg. Like, that is just the joke. So, yeah, I don't think it is possible to argue it. It wasn't even that revolutionary with the puppet effects. I thought maybe that would be it. So, yeah, I can't play devil's advocate this time. I can't do it. Just can't do it.
Is anyone here actually going to defend E.T.?
I am.
Wonderful. There we go. That's all we need.
I will defend it. I will defend it because I would argue that The Thing is cinematically, it's a better film. Script-wise, it's a better film. Acting-wise, everything about that film is better than E.T. However, E.T. is popular because it is good with kids. And I would say that E.T. is bigger than The Thing when you look at it. Oh,
this is the problem, Ben, because I was trying to argue for E.T. And here's the thing. If the question was which one has affected pop culture more, yeah, it's definitely E.T. People still, if you say phone home to someone, they immediately know what you mean. But it's not. It's what affected the film industry more. And the fact is, there are just so many imitators of The Thing. So many directors who say that The Thing was their inspiration. I don't really see anyone saying that.
I disagree.
There's one career that was launched by The Thing, funny enough, was Kathleen Kennedy, who had been a personal assistant on 2 films, suddenly a producer on E.T., and then went on to I think had her own company, the Kennedy Company, with her husband, and then went to the head of Disney. But her career was kickstarted by The Thing. So we have the Thing to not the Thing, sorry, E.T. We have E.T. to thank for the new Star Wars trilogy.
So what you're saying, Benton, I think, is that the four of us in an Avengers Endgame style plot need to travel back through time and kill Kathleen Kennedy, right? No, is that not what we're saying here?
What were we talking about?
So shall we address first of all then? Shall we have a look at reasons? Because no one seems to quite know. There seems to be a lot of theories as to why The Thing initially failed, be it
I think I can knock this one out of the park. The ET was culture versus counterculture. It is encompassing of the attitudes of the time. It's the 80s. Got the red under the bed scare. You've got the idea of the fear of outsiders, and the fear of people who are different. And the one film has, don't worry, outsiders are lovely. They'll come in, they'll be friends with your dog, they're going to heal your cut, they're going to they're going to be your son's best friend. And you've got another one that's, no, outsiders are scary, they're going to come and they're going to be the worst fucking thing that is ever going to happen to you. Of course you can tell which one is going to fill out cinemas, because people were scared.
So you say that, Benton, but like, I would think that it would be the other way around. I would expect especially in those times, but I would expect the mainstream Hollywood, big popcorn film to be the one that says outsiders are bad and the enemy and the thing you should be afraid of. And don't worry, here comes a nice white man to make sure that they go back to the planet.
It's quite subtle about it. It's subtle about the fear of because the original The Thing from Outer Space, was a metaphor of communism. But I think that it's hidden a bit too well and also it's got a slower pacing and a much more there's a bit more meditative, which usually doesn't enter the broad stream. Whereas E.T. was kind of fun, friendly, bring the kids. It's all a good experience.
I agree, and I think I just think it's interesting that although in many ways I think The Thing is the cooler film and the one that you want to say is like the one you like, I'd much rather have a tattoo of The Thing on my arm than I would E.T.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that you've got this massive, like literally the biggest movie that year when it got released. It was in cinemas for ages and ages. But it is essentially a film which is saying, accept foreigners, outsiders, and things like that. Whereas the independent film, which you normally would find would be more left-leaning in independent cinema, is the one that kind of is saying, don't trust anybody from a different place.
I mean, this is the thing though. 1984, which if I'm sure we're all familiar with it. It was banned in both the USSR and in the US. It was banned in the US for being communist propaganda, and it was banned in the USSR for being capitalist propaganda. So I think people at the time, they just didn't like anything that I think anything that alluded to the issue or anything that remotely made them scared. They wanted these things that make them feel good. That was the culture of the time.
Look at the era we're talking about, the 1980s. You look at what pop music was doing there. You look at what cinema was doing. You look at the people of what you want to call a celebrity of the day. Everything was big and everything had to be happy, because let's face it, you look at the time of life of the people who were around then, our parents, or some people, maybe grandparents, depending on how old you are. But you're talking of kids who grew up who were young in, say, the 60s. By the time they're 20s, nightclubs, they want music, they want films, they want, sex, alcohol. Everything's got to be big and happy. And E.T. proves that.
I was going to say, I think it could be because, like, 1982 is a real shit year, Like, not only have you got the Cold War that's been going on at this point for, like, 40 years, the constant fear of communism, you've also got America was hit by a recession in 82.
Was the AIDS pandemic still going on at this time as well?
Going. So life's pretty shit. And I think that parallels even today. If you look at TV viewing figures in the immediate year following 9/11, shows like Scrubs, Friends, comedies all saw an increase in their viewing figures, whereas dramas like The X-Files, which was a lot about, you know, don't trust the government, stuff like that, that was like the death of The X-Files, was its viewing figures plummeted in the wake of 9/11.
I think we need to remember that films, for a lot of people, are escapism. And they don't want to escape from their life of being scared of that any second their existence could be wiped out by nuclear missiles.
Honestly, you've just hit on part of my film philosophy, which is fair enough, you're entitled to like whatever you want to like, but people whose sole thing with film is an insistent on it being realism, to me, they're missing the point of film. If you want realism, go watch a fucking documentary or go sit in a pub and watch people.
Or read a book.
I'm watching films to escape. Like, I'm not saying like big fantasy films either. Just like films that are relatively real, you know, there's no superpowers in them or whatever, but they're still not reality. It's the same reason we all want our movie stars to be attractive and everything to be nicely glossy and colourful, because sometimes when you've had a really shit day or a month, when it's not your day, your month, or even your year, sometimes you do just want that little slice of comfort.
But is that the best thing? Is by constantly distracting yourself for that little bit of comfort, just allowing the problem to grow bigger bigger and bigger?
Well, this is like what I say to Benton about the MCU all the time. I do agree with Benton that they are, as I like to call it, they're the McDonald's of films. You know what I mean? They taste all right. It's fast. It's quick. You know what you're getting. If you have McDonald's once in a while, fine. Who cares? No big deal. If you're eating McDonald's for every meal, like fucking supersize me, you're going to die of a clogged artery before you're 10. Same wise, if you're watching nothing but the MCU, and to be fair, there are people who do this, and that's why we're partly in the problem we are. If you fill your life with trashy reality TV and MCU and things like that, eventually your brain rots into nothingness and you become one of these people who believes the world's flat.
Are you saying that the MCU leads to flat earthers?
Jamie, I am offended by the insinuation of that, and I'm going to take you to the edge of the earth and throw you off.
Because you're a fan of the MCU, like I am, aren't you, Ben?
I am. However, no, I agree with you. It is the McDonald's of cinema. I completely agree with you. Where it's a good example, right? A good example is like saying to somebody, what have you watched recently? And say, I watched an amazing film recently. Oh, what was it? Avengers Endgame. And you go, really amazing or like good? They say, no, it's the best film I've ever seen. You go, well, what about Schindler's List or Casablanca or Apocalypse Now or whatever? And they go, oh, they're really old films. They're not as good as films are better now than they used to be. It's that sort of attitude towards films. Yeah, but then again, not everybody has the philosophy that we all have of films. It doesn't matter the age of the film. It's the things that you don't see which make the film great. And
no, I was just gonna say, like, it is surprising because you know what? I'm gonna level with these troglodytes for a second. I can understand, unless you have a passion for film like we do, you know what? I can understand if you don't want to watch a silent German expressionist film from 1922. Right?
No,
I can appreciate it.
This is in every sphere of media, though, and in I guess escapism or forms of entertainment, like Call of Duty. If you're big on the video game scene, it's the same shite that's peddled every single year. And there's nothing to it, and it comes out every year, and it's basically just a tax on keeping up to date with a game that's just about shooting people,
like Apple phones.
Exactly, but this is the thing. And I was arguing with a friend about it. I was like, "Why do you like the game? Why do you like? There's so many better games than that. If you want a mill sim, there are better mill sims. If you want something that's fun and enjoyable, try Doom or something like it doesn't have to be Call of Duty." But he's like, you know what? I know what I'm getting. I pop it in the machine. I sit down. I've had a shit day at work. I sit down, and I know that it doesn't take an hour to boot up. It doesn't take an hour to get good, or anything like that. Like any of these survival games, I can sit down. I can have mindless fun for half an hour and just forget how shitty everything is for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't have to, I could buy the next FIFA and I just know what it's going to be. It doesn't have to push me. I don't have to feel like I've got an experience. I've just had a good time. And I get it.
But that's the problem, though, is that complacency what is it? The complacency is the death of talent, because you could have a film come out or a game come out which somebody has spent their entire life trying to make, and it is a bloody good film or a bloody good game or a bloody good song, could be anything, and people will not listen to it because they haven't got the attention span to actually look or listen or read it.
But do you need them in your audience at the end of the day? If they're not going to appreciate it, then do you need them?
They're the general demographic. That's the problem.
Unfortunately, you do, because movies cost millions of dollars to make now. It's to make one last video game point, because I don't think we're too off topic, actually. I think actually this is all relevant to the argument. To make one last video game point, as you all know, I love Resident Evil, pretty much the only thing I play now. Last night, I stayed up and watched the Resident Evil showcase, right? In which Capcom announced all their new projects for this year. And they announced that yet again, despite having failed twice, 3 times at doing this, they are trying to produce another online multiplayer 4v4 shooter version of Resident Evil. Every time they do this, it doesn't sell, right? Because that's not what the Resident Evil fan base want. Now, here's the thing, though. I can understand why they're still doing that, because unfortunately, those of us in the Resident Evil fan base who like puzzle solving and like survival elements and storylines, we are not a big enough group. Even if every single one of us buys a copy of Resident Evil 8, we are not a big enough group to make back the money that Capcom needs for how expensive games are now. And movies are quite the same way. You know, I know The Thing wasn't a massive multi-billion-dollar budget, but it wasn't cheap. Like, I was looking it up earlier, and I think it was 1.5 million alone on the special effects.
I know it
you
flopped.
Think back in the 1980s, that's a lot of money.
And it flopped.
Yeah. To be fair, actually, I'd like to challenge that, actually. I was looking it up. Give me 1 second, because I want to get my figures right here, because I don't want anyone to accuse me of being
No, I know it wasn't. I don't think it was like a critical failure, but I know it wasn't a smashing success. It didn't storm the box office.
I think it was perfectly middling, to be honest. I think it debuted at number 8 in the. To be fair as well, can we just take a minute? How many fucking important films came out in 1982? By the way, I'm literally looking at this list here, and you've got like fucking Blade Runner came out that year as well. Poltergeist, E.T. You know, these big films gone on to be legendary. Some of them undeservedly so, because, you know, Conan the Barbarian, Mad Max 2, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, Tron. They were all 1982.
You have to look as well. You have to look at the time, especially in the 80s, when especially CGI was a big thing back then. Like, it was, I mean, the 70s they played around with it, but the 80s is when it really came into its own, especially with like the likes of Star Trek. I know that was earlier, but Star Trek was sort of the first one to do it. But when you've got something as real, I mean, I say real, but the puppetry of E.T., you think to a kid, that's you're either going to go wow, or you're going to be terrified. Either way, it's going to sell. The Thing, I just don't think. I genuinely believe the future of cinema is the younger generation that follows. E.T. in that instance was always hands down going to win, because The Thing just isn't as captivating when you are that age to really entice you. I mean, they say children when they're growing accumulate their senses from what they see and what they hear and what they feel. If you're watching The Thing compared to E.T. as a child, I'm not an expert, but I personally would say E.T., looking at the way E.T. moves, the way he speaks, the interaction with him, you are going to look at that and you are going to create a more, you're going to learn more from that than you would The Thing. That's my personal opinion.
The Thing wasn't for children, but I get what you mean. We're talking about what has a lasting impact on the industry. And obviously, if you were, I guess, 20, 30 when The Thing came out, if you were 20 when The Thing came out, you'd now be, what? If you're 20 when The Thing came out, then you're now 60.
40 years ago, 60, yeah. But I mean, I would like to say now that I don't like E.T. I don't like that film. I prefer The Thing, but it's undeniable that E.T., in my opinion, is.
I think it's rife for parody in that it's reached everything, and you just need to see the shed with the smoke coming out of it. Like American Dad's done a parody of it. I'm sure Robot Chicken's done one. Like it's rife for parody because it is such a staple in pop culture. But The thing about pop culture is that it strikes fast, it strikes hard, and it fizzles quickly.
I
Cult
don't know.
fandom, it doesn't strike fast, and it's very slow, but it grows, and it grows a strong foundation,
Benson,
and it grows like a tree.
I think you've just trampled on your own point there, though, mate, because you're saying it fizzles fast, but then you listed shows that have parodied ET that have existed 30 years after.
To be fair though, these parodies were early 2000s. American Dad and Robot Chicken both parodied it. I think that
That's still 20 years.
I'm not saying that the people who watched ET when they were younger, they're not dead yet, are they? So there's still people who see it and go, oh yeah, no, I remember that. And it's been parodied so much that people can identify it without needing to have seen it. I knew it was ET without having to see ET. I watched ET last week and I still recognized ET references. That's how much it's become in pop culture.
Yeah,
Dave, you're being very quiet. I can sense an argument brewing.
Is he stewing?
No. I'm just listening. Carry on. Go on.
But I think that it's just that, first of all, this is something I completely noticed with Spielberg. One of the things about lasting impact is that he doesn't have any. There's no fancy bits. There's no flourish. There's no little signature that lets you know that it's Spielberg. I might be incredibly wrong here, but at least in E.T., E.T., Saving Private Ryan, the only ones I've really seen of his. Oh, and Indiana Jones. There's nothing that I've seen and gone, that's the Spielberg shot. That's a Spielberg, because I just notice it as the archetypal blockbuster film. It's just shot like a blockbuster.
Yeah, but Benton, that's the thing. That is Spielberg. He created the blockbuster with Jaws. Everything we know when we picture blockbuster filmmaking, we are picturing Spielberg's. And I do know what you mean. He's not as flashy and attention grabbing as, say, Tarantino. Like, you watch a Tarantino film, you know it's a Tarantino film. Because, and to be fair, like that guy argued on that post I read out yesterday about last week about Kubrick, some directors arguably take that whole style thing too far and they're drawing too much attention to themselves, and it's fucking annoying. Spielberg is definitely a mass market filmmaker. He makes films for mass, which is why he's had such a long career. I did have a lecturer at uni who would disagree with you that he doesn't have his own style, because he was a scholar specializing in Spielberg movies.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think Spielberg does. I don't think he does that sort of thing where it's like every movie he always uses that camera shot or like always that prop or thing. You know, I don't think he's like that, and I don't think I kind of respect him more for doing that. One of the things that annoys me a little bit, what you're saying, like Jamie, about directors sort of kind of being overthinking the style. In some way, I think a lot of those 90s directors and people like Tarantino and stuff, they want to be recognized as auteurs because they've read about the auteur theory and they've studied directors and they thought, well, I want to be like Brian De Palma or Hitchcock or whoever. I think Spielberg is more in service to the film he's making. But I do think Spielberg has got that indefinable thing where so many directors wish they could do what he does. But without sounding too sort of vague or too pretentious, there is a magic to his films that is indefinably his thing, where you can't point your finger at it, but you know when you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, when you watch E.T., when you watch Jaws, it's just got that Spielberg quality to it. And I think in many ways, that's what makes him such a great director. I prefer that part of Spielberg's career to the sort of the more recent stuff where he's got a bit more serious, like Munich and The Post and things like that.
I would say another credit I will give Spielberg, and something I hope I can emulate in my directing career, and I'm sure Ben does even directing theatre. Spielberg is not pigeonholed in one genre like so many directors are. He's done pretty much every genre at least once, like everything from horror to sci-fi to fantasy to serious drama.
Do you count Jaws as a horror?
Yeah.
Jaws, Poltergeist.
Monster movie, isn't it? Jaws.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it depends. Obviously, there is debate as to how much of Poltergeist was directed by Tobe Hooper versus Spielberg. Some sources claim Spielberg actually directed like 80% of the movie, but Do you know what I mean? He has tried it. And I know some people who were even scared of Jurassic Park back in the day. I mean, being a little kid, you know what? Them velociraptors, man.
How many people do you think are inspired by the blockbuster? Wow, this is not a formulated thought, and now that it's coming out of my mouth, I already know the answer.
Go with it.
But I was saying, how many people do you think have been inspired by the blockbuster? How many directors, young budding directors, have been inspired by the blockbuster type of filming and the auteur type that, say, as our competitor against E.T.? How many people do you think have been inspired by The Thing?
Right.
And the long follow shots, these shots that you can tell took a hell of a lot of work to get done, and not just over the shoulder, wide shot, over the shoulder, wide shot, which is your typical blockbuster.
Can I ask you to rephrase that question ever so slightly, and then it will make more sense?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of producer who wants a director? Because let's face it, the director's not going to have that choice, is he? Whatever film he gets.
He's on about like young people who decide they want to be directors.
I think everybody wants to be like directors, particularly probably young male directors. You could much cooler. It's like the tattoo thing I was saying earlier. It's much cooler, isn't it, to be like a John Carpenter or a Tarantino or somebody like that. Nobody wants to say, when I grow up, I want to make the next big family film. I think
I've got the answer to I think I've got the answer to Benton's question. I think it's both. Because I think, if we're being completely honest, I think the answer to Benton's question is both. Because most directors, let's be honest.
Is Jamie doing a broad sweeping statement?
No. I'm answering your question with the correct answer.
Okay.
The correct answer is both. Because here's the thing. Let's be honest. I think that the Spielberg blockbuster type film, 9 times out of 10, is what's responsible for sparking an interest in film in general. And then as you go into that, you then focus down on the more artsy directors. Look at me, right? The film that made me want to make films is Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not here pretending Nightmare on Elm Street is some fucking genius, intelligent art. It's a blockbuster horror movie that was made to give people thrills and chills. And it wasn't until I went down that path that I got into it. And I think you'll find that's the same for lots of directors. Adam Green, the owner of Ariscope Pictures, he says E.T. E.T. is the film that got him interested in film. And then as he grew older and went further down that path, that's when he started finding things like Hitchcock, Carpenter, David Cronenberg.
It's a gateway drug.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think
smoke a bit of ET, and before you know it, you're injecting Hitchcock in the dark.
I think Jamie's right though. Jamie's definitely right though, because let's face it, if you want to start out as a director, you've got to start out as at the bottom, scraping the barrel, doing the films you don't want to do. But once you get yourself a genre, you get yourself a reputation, you can do what you like, and that's when you really shine. But that's the difference between a good director and a great director: doing something you hate and making it look good, and doing something you love and making it look amazing. But Spielberg started like that. He famously didn't want to do E.T. at the beginning. When he read the script, he didn't want to do it. He didn't.
Didn't he write?
Can I make a?
Spielberg's a little bit like it's a bit like who do you prefer at the Beatles, Paul or John? And I think everybody wants to be John. John's the cool one who grew his hair long, and they both grew their hair long. But you know what I mean? Like John was always the really cool one. He died young as well, so he didn't have a chance to write the Frog song and fuck it up, right? Whereas Paul McCartney, everyone kind of takes a piss out of Paul because he's not the cool one. He didn't do as many drugs as them lot. He did write Obla Di Obla Da and the Frog Chorus and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, when you actually make probably a best of compilation of the Beatles, most people, I reckon, would choose more Paul McCartney songs than they would John Lennon songs. I know there's going to be loads of people going, what are you talking about? But I do think Paul is the one who writes the hits. John wrote a lot of hits, don't get me wrong. Great songwriter. I love John Lennon. And I think that's the same thing with a Spielberg. It's very easy to turn your nose up at the guy who makes popular, mainstream, successful stuff because it's not cool, it's not sexy, it's not like punk rock, is it? But I would say that Spielberg, if you're gonna make those big popcorn movies, at least do it as good as Spielberg does it with like E.T.
Well,
Like,
here's a good example to back you up, Dave. I'm going to back you up here, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
I'm going to make 2 points, actually. Point number one, first of all, Spielberg got all that mainstream credit and then made Schindler's List. I guarantee you that's probably the most widely seen Holocaust movie of general public. Second thing, you said if you're going to do it well. Case in point, as someone who does what Spielberg does but does it badly, Mr. Michael Bay.
Yeah.
There's no heart to a Michael Bay film. It feels corporate. Whereas Spielberg, okay, you can argue he's losing it a bit in his later years.
And a lot of people, I think, sorry to interrupt, but like Spielberg, he does have heart. Like someone like Michael Bay, like you say, it's corporate. With Spielberg has a lot of heart to his movies. Some people would say he's overly sentimental. I think that's like the criticism of it. And I think, like Benson, you were saying the other day when you watched it, I got the sense that you were sort of sneering at the ending of the movie. And
I thought it was good, but I think I'm someone who's emotionally repressed as I am. The issue is that if an emotional scene doesn't tickle your balls the way that it's meant to, you're just sitting there watching people cry, and you're there like, I don't feel anything in the void where my heart should be. Yeah. And it's like, just get on with it. Like there's the bit where the ship's about to go into space, when E.T.'s leaving, and I'm there like, come on now, when's this going to end?
Sure. Yeah, that bit where they're trying to make you cry, and you're just thinking, nope. I was that way a little bit
All I'm saying, Michael Bay, the only 2 films he did that actually were very good, the only 2 films I really like from Michael Bay, The Rock and Bad Boys.
Thank God you didn't say Pearl Harbor, because I was about to lose a lot of respect for you.
I haven't seen either of those 2. So
You've never seen Bad Boys?
I actively avoid most Michael Bay films.
Oh, no, Bad Boys is a classic. Bad Boys, he's up there.
Point Break or Bad Boys 2? Or which one do you think I prefer? Which one do you want to watch first?
Well,
I love Edgar Wright.
This is kind of off topic, but it's not. It is related. I'm going to tell you a little anecdote that I think proves the difference between Spielberg and Michael Bay. Spielberg is, above all, a film fan. He could talk to you for hours about the simplest things in film, right? With a real passion. I mean, for God's sake, the man started his career by breaking into Universal Studios, camping in a store office, and pretending he was an intern there until they eventually gave up and hired him for real. That is how he got started.
I did not know that. That is incredible.
Michael Bay once did a press event. If anyone's not seen this, I suggest you look it up, because it's, when something's funny, but it's also so cringy you want to burst into flames.
That's most
Michael
of my life.
Bay did a press event where he was there to promote his own film, and his teleprompter broke, and he couldn't talk about his own movie without the auto cue, and he ended up getting really flustered and walking off camera. That is the difference between Spielberg and Michael Bay.
Then again, it's in that industry as well. I know it's a cliched saying, but it's not what you know, it's who you know. People become actors or directors or musicians by simply being in the right place at the right time. And Michael Bay, I have a very funny, sneaky suspicion, is one of those people. He didn't want to be a director. He just happened to be one. And somebody said that he was good at it. They must have been mad, but they must have said it to him.
Like you said, I'm not going to pretend he's never made a good film. I wouldn't say it's a good film. I can see the appeal of Armageddon to a mass audience. I actually quite liked one of his films. I don't know why, I just did. I quite liked a film he did called Pain and Gain with Mark Wahlberg and The Rock.
The best part about Armageddon is not Armageddon. It's the actor's commentary that Ben Affleck did for the film, and it's so fucking funny because you can tell that he despised the film.
Oh, really?
And there's a bit where he's commenting over it. He goes, and he's like, at the time, I said to Michael, "Hey, wouldn't it be easier to train astronauts to use drilling equipment rather than engineers to be astronauts?" He said, "Shut up, Ben."
And the fact as well that it is so scientifically inaccurate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of heart as well, I honestly recommend anyone, if you've got any Schwarzenegger films on DVD, any commentary you can lay your hands on with Schwarzenegger, they're all golden. Yeah. God bless that man. he loves what he does.
Oh,
like,
I've got
he's
his
on-
autobiography. He's the most passionate man I've ever seen before.
Yeah, he's on the commentary for Terminator 3 like a little boy, as if he's never seen it himself, and he's literally like, "Oh my god, look at that explosion! Look how cool that is! Oh my god!" And it's like Arnold, you were there. Like the bit where he's hanging on the back of the fire truck and they're going down that highway. He's like, "Oh, you know, a lot of people think that this is actually me, but you know, it's actually a stunt double." It's like, we know, Arnold, but God bless you.
I think though that passion for filmmaking is a moot point in these ones because both John and Spielberg, or both Carpenter and Spielberg, are both clearly have a divine passion for film.
Did anyone else notice that Benton was just then so familiar with John Carpenter he called him by his first name?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Sometimes I just call him JC, like the big man.
like the big man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a moot point as they're both clearly film fanatics. It's just that
I think one. Yeah, I mean, with ET, it's definitely a cult classic. And at the point I made earlier, people's attention span is so small these days that ET is a very easy film to watch. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if it's on a Sunday and I'm at home with nothing to do and it's on, I will watch it because it's just something to watch. The Thing, on the other hand, as we've all said before, we're all big film fans. We like to think we know what we're talking about because we have a varied range of genres and different tastes. The Thing is the sort of how can I put this? The Thing is like I'll tell you what it's like. The Thing is like homemade ice cream. You get it how you want it. It tastes amazing, and you know it's going to be good. ET is like going down to the shops and buying a Magnum. That's what it's like.
I'm hungry today. There seems to be a lot of food metaphors going.
But it's that sort of one of them. You know is going to be good quality. It's not big. It's not branded, but you know it's going to be good. Whereas the Magnum is going to sell millions, and it tastes like dog shit.
There goes the Magnum sponsorship deal that I've been setting up all week.
Oh my god, you have no idea how much work you just put down the drain.
Who did you sleep with at Magnum?
Everyone.
To be fair, actually, I find it sadder the fact that Drew Barrymore, after ET, her career skyrocketed and it crashed so spectacularly.
I mean, she was the most annoying in ET as well, though. So I think she had it coming for being annoying in ET.
Yes,
generally are annoying though, aren't they? It's not very often there's a kid.
Was she the only one who had a breakout career from ET? Because the other two kids, I don't really recognize the names.
Henry Thomas works deep. So the boy Elliot, he works steadily. He's never become a big breakout hit, but he's still acting today. Most recently, you could have caught him in the Netflix series The Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
He's funnily enough, you remember the director I mentioned last time, Mick Garris, and you're all like, "Oh yeah, you know who knows Mick Garris?" He works with Henry Thomas a lot.
Okay.
Fun fact about Mick Garris: he was the way his career started was as a promoter for Spielberg on films like E.T. On the original, his first ever film job was the original Star Wars. He answered phones in the office.
Huh. So wait, what about the other one, the older, the teenager?
What older teen? I should also admit to the audience, I haven't seen E.T. since I was 7.
So there's the older brother, then there's the main kid, and then there's the younger sister. Does the older brother go on to do anything?
Just so I know I've got the plot to this film right.
Okay.
It is about an alien who lands, eats a bunch of candy, gets hyperactive, then gets sick because of like COVID or some shit, and then the government like kidnap him, and then they like get a cell phone plan and he goes home. Yeah,
that's it.
Cool.
That is the gist. Yes.
Let me quickly look up the older teenage actor then.
The fact you haven't even seen this film before we did this podcast is actually quite disappointing, Jamie. I don't even like it. And
that's Michael Bay levels of commitment.
Ben, I tried, and to be fair, I might be about to ruin. This is why I had to side with The Thing. I tried to watch it, and the thought of watching the movie made me want to peel my own skin off and boil it.
Why?
It's a perfectly brilliant film.
To quote Benton, it's just so sugary and soppy and
I was
plus I was busy watching films about strippers in the desert.
You've got time to watch Bitch Slap, but you haven't got time to watch fucking E.T. What's the matter with you, man?
I am a single man in my prime, right? The fact you lot would rather watch little boys fiddle with aliens than hot strippers in the desert says more about you than it does me.
Make it sound as flipping salacious as you possibly can.
Oddly enough, I've just been looking at what Spielberg's got coming up next, like in
Okay.
later years, and he is doing a film called Apocalypse.
Robo Apocalypse, not
And also he's doing Gremlins 3.
Oh wow.
He's doing Gremlins 3.
This actor you asked about, Robert McNaughton, his name is. His Wikipedia page says his most famous role is E.T. So
that's never good.
Let's look what else. Oh shit, dude's only been in 4 films. And look at the gap between these. Listen to this. 1982, E.T. 1983, I Am the Cheese. Then nothing at all until 2015 when he played Isaac in Frankenstein versus the Mummy.
Ooh, yeah, that's
That
an acting
sounds
career
terrible.
that didn't take off.
Either that or he did.
You need to
what,
back off the mic a bit, by the way, Jamie.
Sorry.
Either that or he did what Rick Moranis did, who disappeared for like 15 years. But when he came back, I actually read an article because I somehow or another it popped up on my timeline, and there was an article with him in it, and he genuinely thought no one would remember him. They all thought like, oh, he's that guy from the 80s. Oh, they're not going to be interested. He went to do a press conference, and there were all these big actors there. I think Christian Bale was there. I think Keira Knightley was there as well, and they all these questions directed at Rick Moranis, every single one of them, because everyone had missed him for so long.
He built up some mystique, as it were. But
I've just looked as well. Spielberg has a film coming out in 2023, and I love the book, The Color Purple.
He already made that.
He made The Color Purple.
Apparently, it's being made. Pre-production musical adaptation of Alice Walker's novel.
Right, okay, doing a musical of it. Is he directing that though, or is he producing it?
I think he might be producing it. Actually, let me have a look.
Does
Yeah, he's
anyone know
producing it.
Ben, are you on his Wikipedia page now?
Yes, because my sources are from Wikipedia.
Could you, well, whatever you're on, could you tell me, is he directing Ready Player 2?
Not that I can see, no.
They're doing a sequel to that?
There's a book sequel. I don't know if they're doing a film
Can I just say, just to go back to the thing for a minute, I watched it literally just before we recorded this podcast.
Yeah.
And I have to say, kind of linked to the child actor thing, some of the best dog acting I have ever seen in that film. Those dogs are acting the They are so good.
Where is the Oscar for dogs, honestly?
Yeah, I think the one in
joking.
France has got some sort of special award at Cannes or something like that, didn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Thing is, you're joking. I actually did do a bit of preparation for this, and I read up a lot on the production of both films. On The Thing, the dog was named Jed, and they actually did spend more time than they usually do with animal actors rehearsing the scenes with him. So actually, maybe there's something to it. Maybe it paid off.
I mean, that dog is incredible. Well, very good editing. My favorite bit actually in The Thing, I mean, it's so good, but besides the obvious bit, there's just one part early on in the film where you see the dog walk down one of the corridors, and then it goes into a room.
Yes, and the guy in there.
You just see the shadow, the outline of them, and then it just fades to black.
But the shadow matches the character that gets infected, even though you never know who the character who gets infected is. It's based on the fact that he's wearing a collared jumper and his curly hair. There's only one other person because the actual actor was sitting there. It wasn't just a stunt double or anything like that. It was, it might have been someone who's made to resemble him or something like that. But it was supposed to symbolize the character that then got infected by the dog. Right. So the attention to detail is just.
But even it's just that the way that they frame that shot and the way you see that shadow and the fade to black. There's just so much like foreboding in that moment. I mean, like he is good when, if you're just the idea of I'm going to get that shot in there, and the way that it's done is so well done.
And we're talking about like the difference between E.T. and The Thing. Well, there's a lot of them, but one of the big ones I think is and this is something that I think a lot of people do with forms of escapism, is place themselves in it. Everyone wants that alien buddy who comes from outer space and is their friend, or at least
Paul.
Yes, Paul. I couldn't actually hear what word you were saying. I thought you were just saying porn. I was quite confused there.
Porn.
But
The
there's
internet is for porn.
it comes like that like Harry Potter. Everyone's waiting for that letter from the owl in the mail. Everyone's waiting for whatever that child. And I think E.T. maybe captured the heart of children of the time. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Anecdotal completely. But then the Thing, if you were to place yourself in the Thing, we were talking about this in the horror one. There really is nothing you can do to win that one. That is a lose-lose situation from start to finish. There's nothing you can't do it right because
there was another moment in it actually which made me really sort of think about like identifying the characters. When they're doing the blood test thing.
Yeah.
There's one bit where they cut to a shot of one of the character. I think his name's Noel, the young black chef in it, and they're doing his test and he looks absolutely terrified as if he isn't sure whether or not.
Yeah. That's the thing from the book where he said, would I even know if I was a thing?
Right. Okay. Yeah. I just think that's such a fascinating like little moment, isn't it? Of it gives it another dimension of, would you know if you're the Thing or not? Because you'd imagine that it's kind of the Thing is this thing that secretly against everybody who is human, but actually maybe the Thing isn't aware that it is the Thing. It's just a really cool little moment, I thought.
And there's something else very clever that the bit where he does the scream with the creature, and every time it screams, that is all the screams of all the things that is assimilated, according to John Carpenter. And actually, all the characters that have been assimilated up to that point have also had their screams put into that scream. There's also lots of animalistic screams and alien screams because this thing has crossed the universe. But the actors themselves who have become assimilated also have their screams in there, and it's like these little attention to detail that I think that just you look at it and you go, I need to ape that in my film. I want people 20, 30 years from now to be still debating whether Childs is a thing or not. I think that's something that has really left an impact, but it's not necessarily a good impact. The sequel to The Thing was where they were so meticulous that they wanted to make sure that all the props in that brief bit where they go to the other base camp, is it Scandinavian one? It was Norwegian. That was it. And they go to that base camp, and like there's the axe in the wall, and there's the broken radio, and they wanted to make sure that from the start of the film to the end of the film, everything got to the way that it was ended, and they paid so much attention to it that they didn't pay attention to writing a good script or making an entertaining film, and it was shit.
He does have a tendency. John Carpenter does have a tendency to do that, though. Like,
but he didn't do the sequel.
No, he didn't do the sequel. But then, okay, answer me this then: why is it in The Thing? It is undoubtedly a good film, very well done, very well written, and very well edited as well. Why is it he can go from doing something like that and then going to do something like Escape from LA?
What's your problem with Escape from LA?
Everything. Everything about
I
that
haven't
film.
seen it, so I'm gonna.
All I will tell you is the CGI. The CGI is so bad, literally, and I was surprised to learn. I've seen it several times because, again, Sunday afternoon TV. There's nothing else on. I was surprised to learn it was a John Carpenter film, and when I heard that, I lost so much respect for him for that.
Is it the one where Kurt Russell surfs a tidal wave through LA?
Yeah, the one with the submarine that isn't the submarine.
It's called Snake.
I mean, to be fair, the fact that the effects aren't good is probably more to do with its time. Like, how are you gonna convincingly fake a tidal wave through downtown LA in 1980s technology?
Yeah, his ambition sometimes, might be outstripping what his budget allows. Perhaps I think maybe John Carpenter.
It was 1995, 95, 96.
Still, fucking technology weren't good in 95.
Jurassic Park came out around the same time.
I stand corrected. Well done,
his
sir.
budget isn't going to be quite as big as Steven Spielberg's for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
No, but then you look at it, it's just...
Yeah, like The Boys has some incredible CGI, but then the budget for that was incredibly high. It's basically movie budget.
I feel like as well as Edgar Wright, you're sucking off whoever it is directs The Boys.
I don't actually know who directs. No, they have a different person directing each episode.
Well, who show runs it?
I want to say Eric Kripke.
What? Eric Kripke does it?
I think so.
Dude, I'll check it out. I love Kripke.
Right, I will show you. Right, this is a real film that was made.
I think
for 10 grand. Right,
I would
this
say
film,
it's one of the best TV shows I've ever seen, though.
This film was released. It's called Birdemic.
Oh, I've seen Birdemic.
Birdemic.
It's absolutely dreadful.
I explain it to my students a lot, actually. Yeah, I watched the first
so
5
bad.
minutes of it. And I gave up because it's one of those ones where it is so bad, it's bad.
Look, I just want to say, this is what makes me want to kill myself. That film there, you've all just seen that, yeah? Birdemic.
Birdemic.
That
I've
that
watched
got
it stop
wide
finish.
release on DVD.
How?
And yet, am I going to be able to sell Candy Heart? No, probably not.
If you make Candy Heart either fantastically good or fantastically bad, one of the two,
This is why my next film is going to be an exploitation movie, because they sell. My next film is cowboy vampires versus hot strippers. But is this the second week in a row we were all in agreement that The Thing had more of a lasting impact?
No, I think Ben is still thinking ET.
No,
on
I
the
still
industry,
say
on the industry, not on pop culture.
industry. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think ultimately the industry still wants to make massively profitable family films, doesn't it? And The Thing is all well and good if you're willing to wait 40 years. Appreciated, but I don't think many studios want to do that, do they?
That's going to be my attitude with Candy Heart. Me and Benton will be standing there. It'll do its premiere. We'll get laughed out the building like Tommy Wiseau. But I'll turn to you then, Benton. I'll go, you wait 40 years from now, my friend.
You'll turn to me and I'll be already gone. I'll be running down the
They'll
street.
recognise this for the masterpiece that it is. So has anyone got anything more to say about this main topic of debate?
I think.
Or are we moving on to our new segment?
I think just in closing argument, I just say that they're both incredibly influential films. One obviously struck much later than the other, and we see these kind of cult classics that go on to influence enormous amounts because of their content and the passion behind them, or something quirky about them that gives them this staying power. And I think Dave has said it a few times on the podcast that he thinks that if a top 10 list of all the horrors was assembled, and obviously this would be if horror fans were actually asked, because I'm pretty sure if you ask your average audience member, they'll be like, "Oh, I liked there was a scary scene in Marvel Avengers, the bit where the purple guy snapped. That was really scary." I think that The Thing just has staying power that will influence directors for years to come, and already has. Spielberg has as well, which is why this is it's a very difficult topic to argue. But are there any other examples where two films have come out at the exact same time, similar content, and yet one did well, one did not?
I actually have an example. Has anyone seen a little film called Dreamscapes starring Dennis Quaid?
No.
Came out the same time as Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it was about 2 months later. It's the same basic premise. If you die in your dream, you die for real. But that's more of a action adventure take on it. And that bombed through the floor, whereas Nightmare on Elm Street went on to be a massive success.
What do you know?
I think the narrative of film not doing very well at the box office becomes cult hit, then gets regarded as one of the greatest of all time. That's gone on many, like Vertigo is a good example of it.
Shawshank Redemption, Fight Club.
Yeah, absolutely. Blade Runner as well. A lot of those sort of, so-called like great films tend to be quite unappreciated at the time and then go on. I think it part of that comes down to that thing of, it's easier to fall in love with something if you think it's just yours and yours alone. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why, filmmakers like Spielberg and E.T. get kind of looked down at, is because you kind of, I don't know, this is a really horrible analogy to make, but it kind of feels a bit like Sloppy Seconds, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To sort of feel like this is, or you can't get that personal attachment to it in the way that you can with a film like The Thing. And it's especially, I think The Thing is now really, quite successful, but say maybe like only me and one of you had heard it, heard of it or watched it and loved it, and I met you, somehow like doing a play or whatever, and I said, oh, I like The Thing, and then you like The Thing as well, you kind of go, oh, you like The Thing, and then immediately it gets that connection, doesn't it, with somebody?
Yeah, it becomes special. That's how these cult sort of...
It doesn't really happen. It wouldn't be the same if it was E.T. Because
if you said I like E.T., you'd be like, yeah, so what? It's like saying I like chicken McNuggets. Like, what you like?
Yeah, well done. Everyone likes it. It's my favorite line from American Dad.
As well.
My favorite line from like American Dad is where he's on a date and he's not saying anything during the date, and then the date's like, so do you like music? He's like, no, I'm the one person in the world who doesn't like music. Anyway, Jamie, what was the second topic that you were
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're introducing a new segment to each podcast episode, a sub-debate. And this, my friends, is your chance to step in my shoes and make sweeping statements of your own. So this is a time-limited debate so that we don't... Because let's face it, if there weren't a time limit, it would be here till midnight. Normally, I will tell you the topic in advance, but today it's a surprise. Basically, in front of me here, I've got several different films written down on pieces of paper that I've folded up and put into a hat. They're all shit films. One by one, I will draw out a film for each of you. You will have 3 minutes to convince us that the film you've drawn is the best film ever.
What if I haven't seen it?
I've tried to pick ones most people will at least be somewhat familiar with.
Okay.
Now, if I draw out one and you absolutely hate it, you can pass and I'll draw you a second one, but you must take your second choice.
If you draw Leaving Las Vegas for me, I will actually leave the room.
Don't worry. I've tried to pick
I like this.
I've tried to pick ones internet nerds will know, and they largely agree is bad. So who'd like to get drawn first?
Right, draw that thing from the hat.
Each person will have 3 minutes to make their argument. You then get a second turn of 3 minutes to argue against everyone else. So on your first turn, you're just backing up your own film. And on your second turn, you're tearing down everyone else's choices, okay?
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I will.
Benton, your first film, which you can pass if you want, is Suicide Squad.
Oh.
I will take that.
So Benton is Suicide Squad. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Ben, your film is Transformers.
Oh.
Dave?
Yeah.
Your film is Resident Evil.
I haven't seen it.
Do you want to do a second one?
Yeah, I haven't seen Transformers either. So I might be a bit bad on this, but yeah.
That's all right.
Keep going until you find one I've seen.
Have you seen Fant Four Stick?
Do you mean Fantastic Four?
Yes.
No, I don't. I think I might have seen the second one with the Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Okay, you can do that then. You're Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and I am... I'm Geostorm. Oh, I fucking hate that film.
I've never heard of Geostorm.
Oh, it's awful, mate.
It's a dreadful film.
Right. Okay. Put it this way, there's no actual Geostorm in it, which is really annoying. Anyway, Benton, when I say go, you will have 3 minutes to tell us why Suicide Squad is the best film ever.
Wait, the best film ever, and not just defend it as
okay,
not
the
bad.
best out of these four, at least, then.
Okay.
If you could only watch one of these four for the rest of time, why would you pick Suicide Squad? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Suicide Squad, as far as the plot may be, trite and maybe shite, it is a character piece. And ultimately, you cannot deny that Margot Robbie made Harlequin into her own and created something that is different and is unique enough that it's the only thing that actually survived the Suicide Squad retconning or the Suicide Squad and suiciding. Is the only thing to have survived it as it went on to Birds of Prey, whereas everything, and she's the only one returning to Birds of Prey, I believe. Not Birds of Prey, the new Suicide Squad, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, as far as character pieces go, while most of the characters didn't get nearly enough time to flourish, they still had their own little bits, like Captain Boomerang. He was there. Slipknot, he was in my heart. until he was killed tragically, because in a team of super people, a guy who can climb ropes, he is a man you need. Deadshot was just Will Smith doing Will Smith. So Margot Robbie really took that character into her own. Jesus Christ. And I think as well, it's very empowering. People were saying, hey, Margot Robbie, whoa, why is she dressing up like this? This is so male gazy. And then discovering that Margot Robbie chose that outfit and looked great doing it. And you know what? She's saying, yeah, you go, girl. So you know what? If you think that Suicide Squad isn't the best one, you're a misogynist.
That's all you got.
Is there any more time?
You've got a whole minute left.
Oh, wowzers. Where do I start?
Please put him out of his misery.
That's
This
the
is going to kill
soundtrack.
me.
There is a soundtrack, and it's got Bohemian Rhapsody in it. And let's just remember how great Queen is. You know,
Don't go off topic. That's not
there's
fair.
The House of the Rising Sun, another banging song. Didn't really link into the plot, but why does music have to link into the plot? You know what? Why do films have to be good? You know, this is the real question, okay? Because I think we are limiting ourselves. We are putting ourselves into a box by demanding so much from our films that a simple popcorn blockbuster of people in silly outfits can't be enjoyed as just shite, okay? And you know what? If you start enjoying shite, that opens up plenty of more avenues for films to watch, like Leaving Las Vegas. I rest my case.
Well done, with 10 seconds to spare. Well done. Okay, Ben Smurden, are you ready to argue for Transformers?
Yes.
3, 2,
I do not envy you.
1, go.
Megan Fox.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's my argument. Yeah.
That's it, you're done.
That's my Megan Fox. That's my argument.
Okay. Well done. Dave, are you ready to
Argue with that, bitch.
Rise of the Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
So I think Fantastic Four movies are just so refreshing for the superhero genre, because here is a genre which isn't all about who's got the biggest muscles or who can punch the hardest, but you've got Mr. Fantastic and his wife Sue Fantastic, and they're really smart, intelligent people. And this is a film that says smart, intelligent people can save the day. It's also wonderful that you've got a character like, is he called The Thing in it? He's called The Thing. Yeah, which is a nod, obviously, to John Carpenter's cult classic. Definitely worth celebrating. But he's a character which teaches us to look beyond, skin deep, and realize that true beauty and goodness lies within. A message I think that all of us need to be reminded of in the shallow, Hollywood films like, Ben, for example, watches, where he just does it to lech over Megan Fox, by the sounds of it, which, quite frankly, I'm disgusted by, for one. What else? Oh, yeah, I also think it's really, really great that it's a film about teamwork. A lot of superhero movies are all about the power of the individual, which kind of seems to suggest that, if there's a problem in society, it's down to the people themselves to solve it by themselves. But actually, here's a film that says that we all need one another, and if we work together, we can grow as a society, as a people, as a race. And I think we need more of that. What else do I need to say? Great effects, fantastic humor as well, really funny film, lots of great jokes in it. Who can forget that joke that happened about 13 minutes in? That was really fun.
That was a banger.
That was really good. That was really good.
What did you think of Cloud Galactus?
I mean, the thing about Cloud Galactus is he's definitely an unforgettable character, which you can probably tell because of all the specific details that I'll be able to report about that character now. Their cloudiness, I think, for one, really kind of comes through. So sort of vapory. Yeah.
You done?
I mean, I think I'm about 2 seconds into it, mate, but I kept going. So
you've got 45 seconds. So okay, you're done, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd just like to play something after that. I have to say, Dave, it was very, very well said. However,
Right. Okay. Geostorm. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, so did you watch Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow and think, hey, you know what I'd really like to see? A movie directed by the guy who produced these movies, who has no directing experience whatsoever. And you know who I want in that? I want Gerard Butler, noted Scotsman, attempting to do an American accent. That's what I want in my movie. The movie should be called Geostorm, which is where every storm in the world happens all at once. People are freezing, people are boiling, there's wind, there's flooding, complete disaster. And I want you to promise me that and then never actually deliver any of it in the entire runtime of the film.
Jamie, it kind of sounds like yours is dripping with sarcasm.
And you know what else I want? I want diversity in my films, damn it. So yes, please give me a cast where all the characters wear the flag of the country they're from on their shoulder so I can easily identify. But please don't break Hollywood tropes. Please make sure all the black characters die in the first act. And please make sure that the British guy turns out to be the villain. Thank you very much. But hey, you know what? It did great things for Russian-American relations because the Russian guy, not a bad guy, turns out to be a good guy, and he actually sacrifices himself to save Gerard Butler. And last little thing, I can give you all this in Geostorm, all wrapped up in a package that will keep you sitting in the cinema for what feels like 18 hours. Who doesn't want that? Okay, Geostorm for the win. I can't think of anything else, so I'll stop with a minute to go. Okay, you all get, so we're going to drop it to 2 minutes because I think 3 minutes is a bit too long. So you're going to go around one more time, and this time you have to tear down everyone else's arguments, okay? So Benton, are you ready to tear down everyone else's film choice?
I can indeed.
3, 2, 1, go.
Don't objectify women, Ben. Next, Dave. The Fantastic Four films is just it's a shit in the face of anyone who's ever enjoyed a comic book film. People didn't like it when Galactus, who's usually this giant pink thing that floats through space, was actually a cloud. Now, I know that you enjoyed his vaporousness, as you described it, but I prefer mine with a little bit more solidity to it, as he is known as the world consumer. And yeah, there was some funny jokes, but once again, it was at the expense of trying to get the actress playing Sue Storm to be naked. And once again, I don't like objectifying women. Jamie, I've never seen your film. It sounds absolute shite, even so much that you couldn't muster up one good thing to say about it that wasn't dripping in sarcasm. And the only thing I'm confused about is how is there a bad guy in Geostorm? It sounds like the whole thing is natural and ergo not caused by a British guy, but I don't know enough about the film. I'm glad I don't know about the film because you clearly haven't defended it. You've just stabbed it in the back. I've been saying, Margot Robbie was a little breakout. It was a little gem in a river of shite, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes good things come from bad things. In your cases, bad things from bad things and no good things. And that is why Suicide Squad is vastly superior to the other three films.
Got 20 seconds.
I will now proceed to recite my favorite quote from Suicide Squad. So what? We're some kind of Suicide Squad.
They said it. They said the title of the movie. And that's your time up. I think the takeaway from that is that Benton hates diversity, but whatever. Ben, are you ready to slag us all off?
I will give it a damn good shot.
3, 2, 1, go.
Benton, you are highly respected. You are a very good friend, and there is nothing I wouldn't do for you. However, I must disagree with you on the following points, of which I am about to say right now. I can't honestly deny that I didn't like that film, so I can't fight that one. I really liked it. I really liked it. I really liked it. I'm
What about
sorry.
Fantastic Four?
Oh, the Fantastic Four. No, that was dog shit. I'm sorry. No, the Silver Surfer character is great. The actual film was so badly executed that it ruined the DC universe, and they've tried to make it 4 times, and they still haven't been able to do it.
Wait, what? Fantastic Four is Marvel.
Huh? No, they're not. Well, no, it was made by Marvel, but it wasn't produced by Marvel.
No, it's Fox.
Fox, exactly.
Yeah,
which
but
is
they're
now
trying to...
Disney.
Yeah, but how did it affect the DC?
I ain't heard anything against Geostorm yet. Come on.
Geostorm, again, Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler has not made a decent film for about 25 years. And Storm, it is a rip-off of Day After Tomorrow from the man who, quite famously, is bad.
Not as good at this as I thought you'd be, Ben. I was expecting to be in tears.
I honestly, I have too much respect for myself to watch that film. I genuinely have not seen it, and I don't want to see it because it looks fucking dreadful.
Disaster films are always awful. I'm sorry, there's not a good disaster film out there.
I agree, but the girl I was seeing forced me to go. So,
oh, there you go. And let's face it, you have a film that has Ed Harris in it. Brilliant actor, but what the fuck was he doing in that film?
I forgot he was in it. Right, that's Ben's time up. Dave, you ready to slag us all off?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Okay, you got 2 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
So I had the misfortune of seeing Suicide Squad at the cinema, and oh my god, I mean, it is abysmally bad. Spends too long setting up a bunch of characters, tells us that they're villains and that they're baddies, and then through just sheer contrivance and because the plot demands it, they all decide to save the world. It's never justified. It's a load of rubbish. It just doesn't work. Jared Leto turns in the worst performance of the Joker of all time.
I was hoping you'd forget about him.
Yeah, no, we're not going to forget about it. It is jokes. I mean, Margot Robbie, what's that line she says in that as well? Like, didn't you forget we're the bad guys or something like that? That is just the most cringe piece of writing ever. Yeah, it's just that's just a bad film. It's laughably bad, as is most of the things that come out of that universe. And I cannot believe that they are making another one. And I remember one of the most depressing moments of my life was asking the kids that I taught, what was the best film you saw over the summer? And more than one said The Suicide Squad. And I despaired at that moment. Transformers I've never seen, apart from all I know about it is that it's misogynistic trash made by someone who's got a Hitler complex by the sounds of it, and should just be consigned to the trash heap. No interest in seeing that whatsoever. And I haven't seen Geostorm either, which is because it's, you know, again, got no worth to it. It's not even entertaining, probably, is it? I mean, some films, yeah, they don't have to be Citizen Kane, but they can at least be entertaining, and I think Geostorm is failing on that very front indeed, so I'm not going to bother.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Well done. 10 seconds left to go. Right, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, people, allow me to translate what Benton just said when he said about Margot Robbie making the character her own and having good character development and things like that. Translation, hot girl wore booty shorts. That's what he means.
But it was her choice.
But it was her choice. Fine. Also, we all heard that Benton hates diversity. We all heard that, right? And
I'm sorry, when did I say this?
Suicide Squad is so bad that they are, for the next one, they have had to go to their rivals, Marvel, and poach James Gunn. That is how unfucking fathomably bad Suicide Squad was. Ben, Michael Bay was given the keys to the Transformers franchise. I like Transformers. I was a fan as a kid, right? The best thing about Transformers, fucking Megatron, barely in the fucking film. Why is there no... How can you fuck that up, Michael Bay? It's a Transformers film. All I need is an hour and a half of Megatron suplexing Optimus Prime through skyscrapers. And you couldn't even do that. Megan Fox isn't even that hot. Seriously. And Dave, you know what? Fantastic Four might be bad, but you know what? At least it's not Fan Four Stick, the remake, which was utter garbage. Both of those original films look better in comparison to that movie. I think you did. Well, am I correct in thinking you didn't even get the character's name right? Did you call her Sue Fantastic?
Yeah,
it's Sue Storm. And your film is so bad it destroyed the Hollywood career of noted British actor Owen Grufford. Michael Chiklis. Where's Michael Chiklis gone? Chris Evans was lucky to escape that dumpster fire of a film. I think that's as mean as I could be. I'm done. Okay, thank you guys. Right, I think. So I would have said originally that Ben would, for the first argument, I thought Ben won, but then his comebacks were kind of shit.
Yeah.
I think Dave won that. I think he's praising of no, you haven't definitely won yet, Dave. I need everyone else's opinion. I think Dave won. I think his description of
you see Ben's argument's the best, just Megan Fox.
I was with him. I liked his ballsy approach.
I'd like to point out my argument was nothing against the film. For the film, I just said Megan Fox.
Yeah, you let us down in the second round because I feel like you didn't get vicious enough against people.
The thing is that all of these films I like. That's the problem. No. That's the problem. I wouldn't say they're brilliant films, but the problem is I watch them and I go, that's really good, but it's so shit. That's the problem because of that. If you'd have given me a film like, I don't know, like the Blair Witch Project, then I would have absolutely slated it. But...
Whoa, Michael Cole, did you just call the Blair Witch Project bad?
It is bad.
We'll have words after the show, mate. Just in case anyone would like to know what the other three undrawn options were, you could have had Scary Movie.
Oh, Jesus.
I like
Batman and Robin.
That was a good film.
Batman and Robin or 50 Shades of Grey.
Wait, Batman and Robin is in the
Joel Schumacher, George Clooney.
Oh, I love that film. It's so bad.
Anyway, so yeah, I think Dave won because of his arguments. For hearing him try to praise Galactus whilst clearly having no clue who Galactus is was fantastic. What did everyone else think? What did you think, Benton? Who did you think won?
I think that my ability to defend the Suicide Squad was the best.
Okay, how about you, Ben?
I quite liked Dave's. I have to say, Dave's argument was quite clever. I quite liked it.
I quite liked how Dave was defending a film that he very clearly could not remember.
I would also like to point out that although obviously this is a joking exercise, Dave did actually hit on one genuine compliment for Fantastic Four, which is that it is one of the only superhero films that values the team over the individual.
Well, I mean, we are completely discounting the Avengers film if we say that. But...
Yeah. Anyway, who do you think won, Dave?
I liked Benson's argument the best, I think.
Thank you.
So that's 2v2. So audience, please comment on the podcast, email
in, comment, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe, and tell us who won. For next week, I'm going to tell you the question for the sub-discussion in advance so that you can all prepare. Anyway, over to you again, Benton. Thank you.
Jamie, are there any emails or anything that you need to shine some spotlight on? Anything that is upcoming or anywhere you said you wanted to close this with some good old-fashioned self-promotion? Yeah.
Please do head over to Impala Films on YouTube and give us a follow. We've got some big things planned, me and Benton have over the next year. We're going to be releasing a lot of cool stuff. You can find us on Facebook at Impala Revolution. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Please leave reviews. We're on Spotify now.
We were also on Google Podcasts, and I've sent off a request to be on iTunes.
Excellent. Please do leave reviews. 5 stars only, please. Anyone else got anything they'd like to promote?
So yeah, I think there's 2021. We've got a lot of projects that we've had on the cooker since 2019 and have never been able to see the light. It looks like they're all going to come out almost at the same time. So there's just going to be the splash of content that we are hoping is going to be.
If COVID doesn't, stop us, of course.
Of course. Hopefully, though, that'll be done by that'll be done by May. That's a Ben prediction for you. You know what? If we're still locked up by May, fuck me. If we're still locked up by May, then I don't even want to go on anymore. But anyway, on that joyous note, we will say goodbye.
Bye.